Hello, nonprofit leaders. I'm Sarah Olivieri, your host, and this podcast is here to assist people like you, executive directors, board members, and other nonprofit leaders, make a bigger impact with insights, tips, and lessons learned from nonprofit leaders and experts. Having been an executive director, a board member, and now a consultant and coach, I truly understand the challenges you face. And that's why I'm here. I'm all about working smarter, not harder, so you can make a bigger impact without the burnout. And so is our sponsor, DonorBox. DonorBox isn't just a suite of helpful fundraising tools, it's a partner that helps you raise more money and supports you in retaining your donors. I love their forward thinking approach. Visit donorbox.org to learn more. And don't forget to sign up for the Inspired Nonprofit Leadership newsletter, where you'll get bite-sized, actionable tips just for nonprofit leaders like you, delivered weekly to your inbox. Sign up at inspirednonprofitleadership.com/sign up. Okay, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, everybody. Today we're talking about a framework that is a helpful framework to think about as a leader of any kind. And it's helpful in both life as well as business, whether you're for profit or a nonprofit. And it's summed up very well by a guy named David Bayer, called the 5 drivers. And we're going to get into that in just a minute. So, what I love about this framework is if you're feeling stuck in any way, if you're feeling like I've tried to achieve something in my business, in my life, and you're just feel like you're kind of like you're on the wheel, right? Going nowhere fast, then this is a tool for you. So, David Bayer's 5 drivers are a framework that help you actually identify the root cause of why you're getting the results that you're getting instead of the results that you want to get, and how to change about them, to how to go about changing them. So often when we think about getting results, and I even talk about this right in goal setting, we have action and reaction, right? The thing that we're going to do and then the result that we're going to get. And in the 5 drivers framework, David Bayer would call that behaviors that you do and the results that come of those behaviors. When we're talking about changing human behavior, so when we're setting those types of goals, there's a missing piece that we don't usually talk about. So often we just say, okay, change your behavior and then you'll get different results. But we actually, as people, have a limited amount of like direct ability to change our behavior, because our behaviors are actually the results of 2 other things that precede behavior, right? So we have to master all 5 things. And those are our thought, our beliefs. Before we have thoughts, we have beliefs. They're like a type of thought, right? So we believe certain things to be true. And those beliefs act as a frame that kind of dictate what our thoughts can be. And from our thoughts, we have feelings, and our feelings drive our behaviors as human. And then those behaviors have results. So there's a famous story that David Bayer uses to teach this, and I've heard it used in many other ways to teach things as well, about the 4-minute mile. So it used to be that nobody could run a mile in less than 4 minutes. It was considered physically impossible. That was the belief. The belief was it is impossible for a human being to run a mile in less than 4 minutes. And then in 1954, a guy named Roger Bannister ran a mile in 3 minutes and 59.4 seconds. But that's not the most interesting part, right? So what happened is all of a sudden, within months, all sorts of other people they heard about this and they started breaking the 4-minute mile record as well, even though it had been like decades, nobody had done it. So here's what happened. The belief that you can't run a mile in less than 4 minutes was shattered when this one guy did it. And now the belief was it is possible, and so our thoughts change, right? Your thought might be from, wow, I'm not even going to try, to this is possible. I believe it's possible. And so I'm going to try. So I'm going to practice harder. So I'm going to change something because I'm sure it's possible, right? I believe it's possible. And so my thoughts about what I'm going to do and my feeling is one of hope and excitement and drive. And that changes my behavior. I don't just think I'm going to try something different or more rigorous or whatever. I feel good about that because I feel like it's possible to get the results that I want because of the belief has changed. Then my behaviors actually change and then I get new results. So the 5 drivers I think are cool because we can use them in 2 ways. We can say, okay, I want a different result. And we can say, like, I want this exciting result. What is the belief I need to have that will drive the thoughts and the emotions and the behaviors to get those results? We can also use this framework by saying, wow, I don't like these results that I'm getting. Maybe you don't even know what results you want, but you know what you don't want, right? So often in life, it's easier to know what you don't want sometimes than what you do want. So you might say, wow, like you just, I keep not making as much money as I would like to make. And maybe this is true in your nonprofit, right? Like I keep meeting donors, they can only give me small amounts, and I'm just not able to raise that much. And then you can kind of reverse diagnose this, right? So let's go to the beliefs. What do I believe about donations that might actually be causing these bad results? So it might be that you believe that nobody wants to give to your organization, that people don't give large sums of money, that it's hard for people to give $100,000, right? These are all beliefs. And when we have that type of belief that's giving us a result that we don't want, we tend to label them limiting beliefs. And an interesting tool that David Bayer offers up, I can't vouch for the science behind it, but he says, you've come across a limiting belief when it feels like icky inside, when you just like have a negative emotional reaction to your own belief when you say it out loud, then you know that it's probably a limiting belief. So I'll leave you with David Bayer's recommendation for how to change your own limiting beliefs. So he has a little framework that he teaches. It's in his book if you want to go look him up. But he says basically you state your limiting belief. So let's say my limiting belief is it's hard for people to give $100,000 at a time, and you feel that icky feeling. And then you say, therefore, the opposite must be true. And you come up with a statement that sounds like the opposite. Sometimes you have to work it a little bit till you get the right opposite statement. So, but in this case, the opposite statement would be giving $100,000 is easy for people to do. And now you come up with, so that's the step 1. So, or step 2. Step 1 is identify the limiting belief. Step 2 is identify the opposite belief. And step 3 is to list evidence that the opposite belief is true. So $100,000 is easy to give, right? It's just as easy to transfer $100,000 from a bank as it is $100. That might not actually be exactly true, but it's basically pretty easy. It feels actually even better to give $100,000 than to give $100, right? And so you go through and list evidence that you have. Lots of people have given $100,000 or much more than $100,000 in the past to all sorts of organizations, including organizations that were less meaningful than mine. Lots of people spend $100,000 on things that don't bring nearly as much benefit to them as making a $100,000 donation to my organization would be. So here I am even just listing the hypothetical evidence, right, to a hypothetical belief. And already maybe you're noticing the joy that's coming out of me. That's what I'm noticing, right? So as I list this evidence, which are the thoughts, new emotions are coming out and a new level of energy will emerge in going after the results. And that is why this system works. You change your beliefs first, and then everything else flows. You change your belief, which causes your thoughts to change, which causes your emotions to change, which causes your behaviors to change, which gets you the results. And when you see this in his book, it is a circle, right? So when we start getting much bigger donations, our belief that it is not only possible, but easy is reinforced. And then we say, oh, well, maybe, and it maybe even change our belief further. Maybe, well, if $100,000 is easy to give and receive, maybe $1,000,000 is easy to give and receive. And so we have this self-reinforcing positive cycle. And the same is true for limiting beliefs. So if I believe that giving $100,000 is hard, people only want to give, $100 at a time. I'm going to get the $100 at a time. And instead of $100,000 at a time, I'm going to have less money. It's going to reinforce that there isn't enough to go around and it's going to get worse and worse and worse. So that is why, because this is like a cyclical or a spiral down or spiral up experience, it is a high leverage activity to focus on clarifying the beliefs that are creating a downward spiral, eliminating those and turning them and embracing your beliefs that take you in an upward spiral because they have momentum. And whenever we have momentum, we have leverage, right? So our small action has proportionally bigger results, either positive or negative when it comes to momentum. And that is why this is a framework that I certainly come back to again and again. I hope this was helpful. For those of you here live, I'd love to know in the comments, or if you're watching the replay on social or YouTube, let me know if you've tried this, if you do try it, how it works for you. And if you're listening to this anywhere else, I wish you all the best. And I want you to know that even though I can't literally see you, I see you out there in the world doing what you do out there with intention to make this world a better place. And I thank you. Until next time, all the best.
You've been listening to Inspired Nonprofit Leadership. Thanks so much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode or the bonus episodes. And while you're at it, please leave a rating and review and be sure to share with your friends and colleagues. Tune in every week for more useful insights and wisdom on nonprofit leadership. Thanks so much for all you do for the communities you serve. Until next time, all the best.